Either we are there or not, ITSPmagazine still gets the best stories. There are plenty of conferences and all sorts of events that spark our curiosity and allow us to start conversations with some of the world's brightest minds. In person or virtually, we sit down with them at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Together, we discover what the synergy of these three elements means for the future of humanity. Knowledge is power, now more than ever. CrowdSec, the collaborative and open source cybersecurity solution. Analyze behaviors, respond to attacks, and share signals across the community for free. Let's make the internet safer together. Learn more at crowdsec.net.
EdgeScan offers continuous vulnerability intelligence as a service, accurately identifying vulnerabilities and exposures across the full stack. All threats are verified by cybersecurity experts, providing exploitable risk and remediation guidance, virtually false positive free. Learn more at edgescan.com.
Pantera, the leader in automation security validation, allows organizations to continuously test the integrity of all cybersecurity layers by emulating real-world attacks at scale to pinpoint the exploitable vulnerabilities and prioritize remediation towards business impact. Learn more at www.pantera.io.
Look at that. We're live from the show floor.
Woo!
Yeah.
It is incredibly loud, and I hope you can hear me perfectly fine.
Yes, you're coming in loud and clear, Chloe.
Excellent.
So Marco's off hacking his teeth. I'm flying solo, and I'm thrilled to have you on. Seems like you've been collecting things.
I have, because, Black Hat's great and everything, but it is very corporate. But this is one you start okay, so I'll rewind here. So the cool thing, like I said yesterday, was that on the badge itself, it gives you a little DEF CON logo right here to let people know if you're attending DEF CON, because you could get a DEF CON ticket. So now I'm able to see people when they come up or start talking to me that they're going to attend DEF CON. But today is the day we pick up our DEF CON badge. I have a lot of badges on. So this is the DEF CON badge. I have not put the battery in. I haven't connected it. But it looks amazing.
Right? Keyboard, music. Can't get any more cool than that.
No, it's really cool. So I picked this one up today, along with the DEF CON package of all the agenda. And then I also saw MintyNet today, who helps with the car hacking village. And he got me this little thing. And it's like, nice. You can have different flashes.
So much more advanced than the one I got from him a few years ago. Look at that.
I know. And he's got the tiger on it. He's carrying a giant tiger.
Do you know how to pronounce the tiger's name? Is it Big Rinio? I don't know.
I don't. I think, I should have pulled him to be on here today. I saw him this morning. I should have been like, hey, you should come back here. But yeah, we did a podcast with him talking about hacking cars. And it is very possible. I'm going to be at DEF CON. I'm so excited for that. Right now there is the Global Cyber Games happening. So I got to go and check that out this morning, and that was fun.
And that's with the U.S. Is that U.S. Cyber Games? Not the U.S. It's Global Cyber Games, but it's the
Global Cyber Games.
Cat's Eye is putting that on. Is that right?
Yes.
At the HyperX.
Exactly. Yes. So that was cool. I got to see the setup. It looks amazing in there. So I had someone come to Las Vegas to kind of see a little bit about the hacker scene. And that's where I took them first today. And so when they came there, they were just like, what is this? This is amazing. And I'm like, it hasn't even begun yet. So they're experiencing the hacker world a little bit today.
Did you leave them there?
I did not leave them there, but I know I'll be going back with them there. But
nice. We lost your video.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, now it's back.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, so that's kind of the stuff that I have on here. Lots
It's
of
just the
badges.
beginning.
I've seen. It's just the beginning. The clinking sounds are fantastic. You know, whenever you're walking, you can hear, and that's when you know who here is going to DEF CON, who is not, and it's by the
The number
clinking
of badges.
sound. Oh, yeah, and then I got this thing. This is at the Microsoft Security Response event from yesterday. It was really cool. It was in a room where it was simulating a takeoff, like a rocket takeoff, and also like stars. It was really futuristic and really nice experience.
And where was that? Was that there at Black Hat? Or was that offsite?
It was it's offsite from Black Hat. They had shuttles that took you there. I can't remember what that place is called, but it was right next to, I think, Area 51, which is where the Rapid7 party was.
Oh yeah, nice one.
Yeah.
So what's the we had some folks on this morning. They chose to go outside of the hall to. I mean, the noise doesn't bother us here, but presumably it makes it difficult to pay attention on your end. So they went outside of the hall. But what's the vibe like? Sounds like it's still pretty good pumping vibe there still.
Yeah, I would say that maybe there's like half the amount of people here right now. Granted, it's towards the end of the business hall. I think business hall is like ending around 4 or 4:30, maybe 5. So that's what's happening there on that front. But at least I'm getting some signal. Like yesterday was terrible. No matter where I was going, it had like no signal, and everyone else was. So when you're trying to meet with people, it becomes a real problem because you won't be able to see them. So I've yet to see a lot of people because I didn't have signal, and they didn't have signal either.
And Signal, the app you're talking?
No, I mean just literally cell signal.
Nice.
It was bad. Like I'm not gonna connect. It's like weird. It's like everyone's like, oh well, I guess I'll just connect to the Wi-Fi. I'm like, no, don't do that. But yeah. Nice. So yeah, obviously it was great to have Jake on yesterday, Jake Williams, and we got some good insight from him yesterday. What anything new or different from what we talked about yesterday? Yeah, I would say that it's an interesting feel, I would say. So yesterday when I went out to the events, I would say that, people are in a weird funk right now, right? Because you have like a lot of things are happening in the world. And so a lot of them are like, I don't know what does the future look like here? And so having those really serious conversations last night was interesting. It wasn't like light chat anymore. It's like people just wanted to be real with each other, check in, how are you doing? And I think that was different. I didn't really see that too much or hear that before then, I would say, in person.
So kind of the shield is not the right way to put it, but just kind of the barriers were breaking down and people were being themselves. Yeah,
it seems like people just want to be themselves, be accepted for who they are, and it seemed like the masks came off. It might not like physical masks, I mean,
right.
The mask came off yesterday for many folks.
And is it the same folks? I'm wondering, because obviously we're transitioning now from, I don't know how much corporate you can call it, but the Black Hat experience over to the DEF CON experience, and which each person attending has a different view on privacy, right? Black Hat's a little less private,
right?
But I'm wondering, was there any difference in the attendee for that feeling? Like were Black Hat people more open versus DEF CON, or?
It's kind of a weird thing because I would say that it's a little bit different because when you're around like the hacker community, it kind of has like this understanding where we're all kind of in the same place. Or
seems we've lost Chloe's feed. She's talking about that signal. There we go.
I would say that
you're back.
Oh yes. When you're in more of like corporate events, it seems like people want to talk about it, but they don't know how to talk about it. So it would be like one of these conversations like, so how are you doing? Like, how's the kids? And like, I heard you had COVID. Are you guys okay? And it's like those kind of conversations versus like when I was at the more hacker-oriented events, when you're having a conversation with someone who's like a DEF CON person, they're a little bit more open. They're like, instead of like, hey, how's the kids? It's like, are you okay? Are you all right? How are you how are you hanging in there? And it seemed like it was a very different approach of trying to have a communication with one another, to try to be there for one another. And I think Black Hat's kind of you have attendees. I'm seeing a lot more hackers this year at Black Hat. But it's very different, I would say. It's a different environment because people are they want to be real with one another. They want to talk about the serious things. They don't want to they want to see action. If anything, I could just tell you, the one thing I noticed was that every single person who was talking about the issues in our industry, the hacker community is tired. They're exhausted because no one's taking actions on the corporate side. The corporate side keeps selling these ideas and these wishful promises, but not delivering on it and not being part of the community still to help them out. And so the hacker community is getting burned out. They're getting overwhelmed. They're getting resentful because they're not being heard, and they don't feel like they're accepted yet. So it's one of those things to see that, because you have people going to Black Hat that are more executives usually that are seeing and controlling security teams, and you do get practitioners too, but it's really interesting to see how people are when you go to DEF CON and the differences of how people are feeling. I think it's just people are just tired. They're done with everything. They just want change. Yeah. And that was something I'm really happy that we can talk about, in this industry, where it's just everyone's just at this point where we're at this fork in the road where we're like, okay, we can't keep doing the same stuff. It's not working. We need to go a different route. And we need people to be held accountable for those things. Yeah.
And it's interesting. Obviously we've had a number of conversations on the topic of burnout. And until you just said it a moment ago, I don't think that word has crossed any of our conversations yet.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say quickly that we were on with Ali Mellon, Haxerbella from Forrester. And she talked about the analyst experience, which is a combination of the tools not working well for the analysts, but then also just the overall experience of their role in the security program. And in there, I felt, we didn't use the word burnout, but in there I felt the concept of burnout. That's what's going on. Yeah.
I mean,
and so I don't know, what do you hear?
I'm going to be honest. I mean, I just remember talking to Ryan Louie back in 2018, I think it was. And I remember he was like the first one that I knew that was talking about, security team and mental health. And I just remember hearing that. I'm like, why aren't anyone else talking about this? This is serious. Because think about it. We're asking people to dedicate basically their life. You cannot have a work-life balance when you are an analyst, for example. It's impossible. Also in this industry, it's all hours. There's no way you can ever have that balance. So we have to start thinking of ways of how do we incorporate better feedback loops, right? So talking with your team, asking them what do they need, but being a good leader where you're willing to work on you and your accountability too on this. Instead of, it's like those things that a lot of people have been complaining is micromanagement, that they feel like they're over micromanaged, and also like they're feeling like they're, last night someone used this term, I wouldn't use this term, but I will use it, like a chicken with its head cut off just running around. it's one of those things where I think that I really wish that people listened before the pandemic, and now we're in a situation where this is it for many people. A lot of people right now are like, you know what? I don't know if I want to be in this industry anymore. And I've talked to a good number of folks that are now like leaving full-time security roles and becoming a full-time bug bounty hunter, or themselves just being a consultant because they can't deal with it anymore. And it is about tools, right? In a sense, if you are making tools where people are not being heard, your users, and you're not incorporating that into your product, then your product is just, it's not going to always be future forward. It's always going to be behind the times. And so it is a really interesting thing to see these type of, situations unfolding. And I just remember Ryan and I talking about this, be like, wow, if this doesn't get fixed, we're going to lose a lot more people in this industry. Not just that, but like, no one should sign up for a job where now they have to take anti-anxiety medication or depression medication because their burnout got so bad that they couldn't get treatment earlier or get time off. So it's those kind of things.
Yeah, and then we were on earlier with Richard Steenan, and we briefly touched on the potential for a recession, and Richard shed some light on it to us, or for us, because he was saying that yes, there might be a recession, yes, there might be cuts in staffing. He said it might be that security doesn't get cut directly, but that IT might, and some of the security things that IT have taken on might then shift to security, so that team might then get overwhelmed. They may not lose people necessarily, but even more load on them. And I'm just wondering, kind of tying it to the what she called the analyst experience, Ali, tying it to the employee experience, which is a broader topic of being satisfied, right, in the work that you do and in the company you're doing it for. Do you get a sense of, just beyond this is burnout and I'm done, do you get a sense of the general employee experience being a topic?
Yeah. So when I gave the talk at RSA conference this year, I touched on PTSD. A lot of times when people were talking to me about like that they have burnout symptoms or anything like that, I had a checklist, and the checklist was PTSD symptoms. And to note for folks that aren't aware of this, PTSD and burnout do mimic each other. You can have both, or you can have either one, but they are very similar, the symptoms. And so when I'm going through these conversations to collect research and they're sharing their personal experiences, it was me being like, do you have a therapist at this time? They're like, I'm actually looking for one right now and I can't find one. I've been on the waiting list for like months. And I was like, yeah, you should talk to your employer, see if they can help in any sort of way, provide any resources to you or your team, because these symptoms are something of some flags here. Where like, so we had, like, for example, there's people that literally, they have insomnia because they're worried about their job. They're worried that they're not going to be able to fulfill their job. They're worried when their friend is, not their friend, but their colleague, it is their friend sometimes, their colleague is like going out on vacation or has COVID. They need to take care of that spot of that person. So suddenly all the weight of the world could come on your shoulders, especially if you're dealing with a breach situation. And for those that experience the first breach, it can be very traumatic for them, actually, where they feel like they were the responsible one that didn't fix it in time, or that they were frustrated because they showed all these signs saying that we need to do this, but no one was listening to them. And so this causes them to feel like they're not welcome there. Or there'll be moments where they'll have triggering events as well. Anytime like there's anything that may be anything close to a warning or a flag, you may have a potential risk right now. So it's really interesting to see what's going on. And I like how we're now talking about burnout significantly in the past 2 years or so because of the pandemic, but I think what we really need to be talking about is that we're also causing people to develop PTSD too. There's a reason why people are leaving this industry, and it's not just, being overworked. A lot of times people believe it's because they're overwhelmed and overworked, but reality, it's research has shown over and over again, it really comes to two things. If you have horrible, terrible leadership, you're going to have a hard time. But the other thing is when you feel like the organization doesn't care about you. So if the organization isn't investing in you and your future, then you don't feel like, why are you here? Why should you be there? Instead, you're kind of treated and seen as just a body in a sense. And so that's the thing I think we need to have more conversations about is how do you invest in your team? How do you invest in your employees so they don't leave? So they feel like they're coming in thriving every day. But if we're not investing in our people and complaining about how they're not doing well and like laying off people without looking what's going on internally, I think that's a problem right there that a lot of people have been sharing, especially because of the recession.
Right. Can I give you some space, Chloe? I know you're involved in a gazillion things.
Sure.
Are there any resources that you can point to, groups, nonprofits, whatever, maybe? Because I don't want to just leave it with, this is really heavy, you know what I mean?
This is really heavy. If people want to talk, like my DMs are always open. I'm not a therapist. Another good person to reach out to is Ryan Louie on Twitter. He's someone who is always a good listener and can, really help spear those conversations. If you're running a security team right now and you're trying to figure out what's going on your team, how do you do better on it? More than happy to always get on a call and learn and hear and give any suggestions I can. But the first thing is really just asking your team, how can I do better?
Yeah, I love that. And I'm gonna put Ryan's handle there on Twitter. Yeah. So hopefully, super cool guy. We met him a few years back, and he's just a really good guy. And appreciate everything he does in this space as well.
Much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been interesting about the investment thing. The other conversations I've had, believe it or not, this was at RSA. So at RSA conference, I was talking to people about cyber. They're wondering what cyber really does. And I shared with them, they're like, oh, I'm not going to do that. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, every time I train people, they want to leave. So they always leave to another company. And I'm like, I don't think that's really a training situation. Usually that's a sign that you have not the greatest management situation. So, but it's
which may be evident in that decision, right?
Yeah, it's just like this like myth that people have about like, well, I don't want to train my people because they'll go somewhere else. And I'm just like looking at them like, no, I don't know anyone who's ever done that. If anything, anytime a company invests in someone and their training, they want to stay because they see, oh, you believe in me. You see a future for my career here and maybe elsewhere, but you believe in me. And you care about security, honestly.
Right. Yep. And possibly and hopefully they give space for that. They're not adding the training, right? So maybe if done in the right way and at the right time, it could give that person a break from the overload and the monotony of the right? Normal day-to-day part. Yeah.
I mean, we have so many people that want to enter our field and they're not getting seen, not even being interviewed. And they're like, because you need to have a certain number of years of work experience. We've all heard this before, but it's one of those things like, one of the things that I absolutely love about where I work is that we see cases of people that literally come in and they have just, they have some experience, but then they go through ours and they, the employer is very happy because this person was able to upskill, learn, and they're eager to work. And so I think that's what we just kind of need to do in this industry is just invest in our people, invest in their well-being, making sure that we're doing good jobs leading in a way where, we will own accountability and make sure that we're creating as much of a balance that we can provide while you work in this industry.
Yep. Well said, Chloe. Well said. I don't know if you wanted to grab somebody and say hi, or what's the vibe like there?
Yeah, I could do
Yeah?
that.
Do
One
you wanna do that?
second.
All right. I'll let you do that. We'll see who's on the floor who wants to say hello from Black Hat. So Chloe's going to grab somebody, hopefully. I think she was saying earlier that maybe somebody who's new to the scene there, kind of get their perspective. Let's see who shows up.
What am I doing?
What are you doing? You're having fun. You're having fun. That's what you're doing. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the fun.
I should probably take off my mask.
Hey, you're all right.
Hi.
How are you? I'm trying to think if I recognize you.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Don't know. I don't think so either. Who do we have here?
I am Nick Misner. I'm head of product for Cyber.
Nice. Yeah, we have not met, but it's a pleasure, Nick. Good to have you on.
Sure.
So thanks for joining Chloe here for this. Yeah, nothing in particular. We just wanted to say hi and see what kind of what's going on there. What's the vibe? I'll just ask you this: any interesting conversations you have had that stick out to you? Anything that made you go, "Wow, I'm really glad we had that chat with somebody."
You know, I've talked with a lot of folks about our CVE and threat actor campaigns, kind of the more emergent threat content that we're producing now. And it's really cool to see how strongly it resonates with everybody here on the floor. Even folks who know Cyber, from years past, everybody's ears perk up when they see it. And so people who don't know us, it's a pretty fresh approach to training. So I'm excited to see how that's resonating with the market.
Nice. And what I don't know if you had a chance to kind of cruise around other parts of the floor, or you've been stuck there the whole time?
I've been working the booth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your feet and your dogs are barking. Is that what they say?
A little bit. Yeah, my dogs are barking for sure.
Nice. What about events and other things? Do you have any chats with other folks outside of the hall?
Not too much. I mean, really, I've stuck to the hall. For me in my role, it's an awesome opportunity for me to actually get to talk to the people who are using the product, or we would like to use the product. I'm really learning as much as I can here. So that's one of the reasons why I'm sticking close to the booth, is it gives me a chance to interface with as many people as possible, to understand what their needs are and how we can meet them.
So maybe share with me quickly how training fits into a security program. Where does it fit in?
Theory or practice?
Practice. What are you finding? Because I mean, we see the marketing stuff, and then there's reality.
I mean, unfortunately, I think training is given short shrift, right? I mean, people don't really allocate the time, because actually, I was just talking with a couple customers of ours who stopped by the booth, and we were talking about quantifying the value of training, and it's ephemeral. It's very, very difficult to take the valuable lessons that people get out of spending time in Cyber and tie that to core KPIs of a SOC. That's something that we're interested in narrowing that gap so that we can be a little bit more explicit about what the value is and the return on investment of training. But unfortunately, it means that training is often a secondary consideration or a tertiary consideration in a real environment. Now, what's awesome is, we do have customers that have, either of their own volition or in working with Cyber, have kind of changed that point of view internally, and seeing a ton of success on our platform. And so it's exciting to see and encouraging to see that there really is there's a valid use case for this, and that it is meaningful. So now really for me, it's more about, okay, well, what can I do to translate that to people who that aren't there yet, and how do we make sure that everybody can see the power of training and upskilling in our market?
Nice. And maybe one more question, and it might be two parts to the same one, but
sure.
And the reason I'm thinking about it is who has the money? So who's coming by? Is it the practitioner that wants to be trained? Is it the program leader that has a team that they want to train? Is it the CISO? Is it, and then
that's a good question.
Where's the budget coming from to actually make it happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say right now, a small majority, 60% of the people that are coming by are practitioners. With another, call it 25% or so, are team managers, team leads, and then that final, boy, if my math is right, 15% are actual, what you would call decision makers or people who hold the purse strings. When we're talking to practitioners or even those team managers, I had one guy, we have cyber stickers. We walked him through the value prop. We walked him through what we had to offer. He put the sticker on his forehead. He said, "I'm going to go talk to my boss." So unfortunately, we're not talking to as many decision makers as I'd like to. I'd love to hear more from them, because that really is where articulating the value is critical. Is at that level. But it seems like we're turning on the heads with practitioners and managers to go and prompting them to go to speak to the right people to actually make the purchase.
Yeah, and I was just chatting with Chloe about the whole notion of employee experience, and there's a lot that goes into that. Big part of it is feeling, I'll say cherished is the right word, but feeling valued, right? And feeling an investment being made in them, and having some flexibility for meeting the employee's needs. And that's going to look different to every employee, right? Some want the money, some want the location, some want the training, some want the flexibility of hours. But at some point, it's that full experience that will, and that's why I was asking the budget, because to me, that experience is driven, at least from my perspective, by HR, right? Not by a single manager in the company, but it's the culture of the company, which I believe HR kind of has the reins there.
Well, it's true. That's true. And I think one of the things that's critical is we talk to a lot of folks where they, even if the budget is available, there's not a lot of thought behind it. We're gonna buy cyber and make it available to them. And I think to your point about that notion of appreciation, the value that we're trying to inculcate with folks who are on the front lines, it has to be more than just here's a tool, you can use it if you want to. I think investing in the thoughtfulness about, okay, here's a way to use it. Let me help you get the most out of this for you and for the company. So, and that's where we see people win. The programs that we work with, where they have a philosophy and a point of view on training, they're the ones that get the most out of cyber area, and I think really their teams are happiest for it.
Yep. And Chloe was also mentioning that some people are afraid to train, and then the person leaves. And all I can think of is, well, yes, they might go to a competitor. Even if they do, what's the big deal? But chances are they're going to somebody that's within your ecosystem, or a third-party vendor, or don't we want to just raise the bar for the industry anyway? So we're kind of all 100%. Better. Yeah. So it's strange sometimes the way people think.
No, I couldn't agree more. It's a really short-sighted point of view. I know, the talent's at a premium, and so I can understand the concern, but to choose not to invest in people is it just ultimately, I don't think it pays off for either the employee or for the company.
Yep. Well, Nick, it was a pleasure to meet you, and a joy to chat with you. I feel like I know you now. So, hopefully we get a chance to chat again. And thanks to Chloe. I see her making her entrance back into frame.
Let me turn you over to Chloe. All right, thanks.
Keep well, man.
So you met Nick.
Yes, and I meant to put his name up on the screen. I totally failed as a producer. But anyway, we'll
it's okay.
We'll include,
you can be Chloe for a day.
That's right. He was Chloe for a few minutes there anyway. But we'll put his info in the show notes for sure, so people can connect with him. Well, Chloe, it's always fun, and and informational, talking with you, speaking with you, and exploring life with you through cybersecurity. And yeah, I'm glad you're there and enjoying that, and hopefully the transition to the other half of summer camp is fun for you.
Oh, I absolutely love it. It's interesting because I remember when interviewing with them, I wanted to know what their goals were, and their goals was to make sure that we make a dent in this industry. By that I mean, like, we convince people to invest in their people, and that we start reducing the gatekeeping in this industry, making sure that everyone is accountable and wanting to help as much as possible. And that's the one thing I love, is basically my role is to provide feedback loops, hearing from the community, hearing from the practitioners, hearing from the executives, and making sure that what we're doing is creating a difference, even if it's a little ripple effect, right? At the end of the day, I think that's the most important thing we can do.
Yep. Well, I like holding people, each other, not people. I like the fact, or the idea of holding each other accountable, as long as we know what that is that we're holding each other accountable to, right? So you got to be super clear about that, and then hopefully everything else will follow. All right, Chloe.
Exactly.
Well, listen, Oh, go ahead.
Definitely. Oh no, I was just like, absolutely, definitely. It was lovely to be here again.
Yep.
On day
again.
2.
Day 2, yes. It's one big long day for you, I'm sure, and hopefully a three-peat tomorrow from DEF CON.
Yep.
Looking forward to it, Chloe.
Be at DEF CON.
Have a good night.
Likewise.
Talk to you soon. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
See you tomorrow.
All right. Bye.
Pantera, the leader in automation security validation, allows organizations to continuously test the integrity of all cybersecurity layers by emulating real-world attacks at scale to pinpoint the exploitable vulnerabilities and prioritize remediation towards business impact. Learn more at www.pantera.io.
EdgeScan offers continuous vulnerability intelligence as a service, accurately identifying vulnerabilities and exposures across the full stack. All threats are verified by cybersecurity experts, providing exploitable risk and remediation guidance, virtually false positive free. Learn more at edgescan.com.
CrowdSec, the collaborative and open source cybersecurity solution. Analyze behaviors, respond to attacks, and share signals across the community for free. Let's make the internet safer together. Learn more at crowdsec.net. We hope you enjoyed this episode of our on-location conversation. If you learned something new and this podcast made you think, then share ITSPmagazine.com with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our podcast channels. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.